Let me ask you something here. I'm seeing something in Amos and now in this Acts verse. Both say the star of your God. So, and who is he talking to? He's talking to the children of Israel in both of these, right?
That's right.
What is this star? And who is Remphan?
Yeah,
Remphan.
yeah, those are some good questions, and I think that that would be a super fun video, and we could rabbit trail off there. But actually, if you wanna look at this really carefully, this in Acts chapter 7, just a controlled rabbit trail. Uh, but in Acts chapter 7, this is Stephen speaking. Remember, before he,
Oh, he
as
got
I've heard
killed for
somebody say
this.
before, yeah, I've heard somebody say before he got rocked to sleep. So that's a good, kind way of saying, stoned to death. He got rocked to sleep.
Wow.
But yeah, Stephen was restating the history of Israel, and he's talking to Jews, and he's trying to say to them, listen to yourself. Consider who Jesus is. Well, when he gets into verse 43, he's talking about Israel's rebellion. Again, very easy to see quotes in the New King James. And actually, Acts 7:43 is a quote from Amos chapter 5, verses 25 through 27. So you're right. There's such a similarity there because he's quoting it.
Mm.
And so Stephen is actually quoting Amos. And what he's saying is that Israel was never asked to carry an image, or can I say it this way for us today? A flag. They're
Mm.
they're not supposed to have an image that they put up to show their greatness. They're supposed to let the Lord fight their battles.
Yeah.
So people may be kind of, again, we're rabbit trailing, but we'll just do it real quickly. Just as a teaser, maybe for another video, people maybe don't know this, and we'll just say this to what their whistle for maybe another video. But the Bible nowhere speaks of the Star of David. David has no star. David is the prototype, good word for today.
Yeah.
He's the prototype of all of Israel. David represents God's choice for king. So Saul is the people's choice, tall, strong, handsome, the guy who can go before us. We're proud to have him. David, insignificant, the least of your choices. Um, he just doesn't do it for the masses, but he's God's choice. Why? Because Jesus is going to be the same way. Jesus is not going to wow you in his presentation, but he is going to wow you in his righteousness.
Mm.
So David is the type of what would be coming in the Messiah kingship of Christ. So David, even Israel knows that David is the prototype of what Israel is supposed to be. So all they do is they just take his name and say, this is the star of Israel. Another way of saying that is this is the star of David.
Mm.
But the Bible nowhere talks about the star of David.
Yeah.
But what the Bible does talk about is in the days of the rebellion, and Amos is calling them out on this. Actually, Jimmy, if you go ahead and look at Amos 5:26, this is very fascinating here. It says, "Also carried Sekuth your king and Kayun." If you click on that and look up that in the Hebrew, it is H3594. And if you look at what it is, this has to do with Saturn. It says here in the Strong's, blue letter Strong's, it says probably a statue of the Assyrian Babylonian god, a Babylonian god of the planet Saturn. Saturn.
Mm.
Now, what's crazy about this is what's so crazy. So, what we have so far is we have Amos is saying, um, don't have the star of these false idols. And the name of one of the false idols has to do with the planet Saturn. Now, this is good. Some of you are going to have to look at this because it's almost too crazy to be true, but it is true. If you go ahead and Google images of the top of Saturn, you will see a hexagram. And if you then overlay the Star of David, like modern nation political nation state of Israel, if you take the Star of David, these two triangles that are interlaced, if you lay it over the top of the shape that happens to be on the top of Saturn, if you overlay it, it's a perfect fit with this hexagram on the inside of the Star of David.
Hmm.
So the Star of David today matches, if you can believe this, you could just look at it for yourself. The Star of David on the inside pattern of the Star of David perfectly matches the top of Saturn. Perfectly. And here Amos chapter 5 says, now how on earth would they know that? To me, that sounds like something only Satan would know.
Yeah,
How on
because
earth
they
would they know
they
that?
didn't have big satellites and big
No,
telescopes and
that's right.
stuff.
That's right. How would they know that? So it sounds
Hmm.
like to me, they're getting this from some other source of information, which
Well,
would be Satan. And so that's interesting to me. So he says here, you did this, you carried. So when Stephen picks up on this in Acts chapter 7, he says uh, in verse number 42, let's go to 42. Then God turned and gave them up to worship the host of heaven, as it is written in the book of the prophets. Did you offer me slaughtered animals and sacrifices during 40 years in the wilderness, O house of Israel? We just read that in Amos. You also took up tabernacle of Moloch, the star of your god Remphan, images which you made to worship, and I will carry you away into Babylon. So he's quoting Amos chapter 5. So I think if there's one thing we can take from this is Israel has no business having a star as their symbol. And secondly, where is the Star of David from, since we don't see any mention of it in Scripture, when they're expressly forbidden to have an image like that? And why on earth does the Star of David fit in the inside shape of it precisely over the exact image we see on the top of Saturn? That is some wild satanic stuff right there.
that's wild.
So it goes with our Israel study. I've never had time to really explain that. So thanks for asking the question.
I've always just kind of heard that a little bit. I've never dug into that. Now I at least want to dig into that if there's some spare time somewhere to be had.
Yeah, we'll get it. Yeah.
Yeah. If you like this video, hit that like and subscribe button. And check out the full episode by clicking the link below.